leaving at 10:05, the train. So they're never ever late. And they like you could take a train from Switzerland down to Rome if you wanted to. I've taken this train to Milan. You could take a train to Paris, France, to everywhere. The whole train system is pretty amazing. I wish we had that here.
So is it like you can take it throughout the entire country?
Through the continent, through the whole
Through the
continent.
continent?
Yeah, the train definitely through Switzerland. It's definitely you can go anywhere you want through the whole country through Switzerland. But it takes you. You can go to France easily. You could switch to France, and then go right to London. I mean, you could go. You can take it everywhere. Like you could literally be on a train and go anywhere you want in Europe.
Wow, I wish we had that here in Canada because from my understanding is that, well, we call them provinces here, but it's province to province to province. And we kind of do, but not to that degree, have something that goes countrywide, but you're saying continent wide. That's
Continent
amazing.
wide, yeah. I mean, in the United States, you can go from New York to California in a train. It's just like there's not a lot of options. It's kind of like one track, I think, that goes through. So, and I think it would take so long because, United States and Canada are so wide. So I think it'd be worth flying than taking a train.
And then the flights are a little bit more expensive, to say the least.
Yeah, and especially now, I mean, with the gas prices, like the I was we're going to New York, and we usually take the train down, the Amtrak down to New York. We're going in September for a family thing, and it was 600 US dollars for just a round trip ticket, and it used to be 150 round trip. So it's definitely the prices are high.
Yeah, I'm looking to go to Ohio because I have to be at a grief retreat to speak in August, and I paid, I want to say seven something
It's it,
before, what was it, a couple months ago. Now they're asking for like 900,
yeah,
almost a
it's
thousand.
ridiculous. It's so bad. So and I still think people are still traveling and paying it, but I think there's going to be a cutoff point where people are like, yeah, I can't afford this anymore.
It makes all those people, was it 2022, 2023, I think, where people were shouting bankrupt the airlines, let them die, and
Yeah,
here we are, they're charging all these prices. It's crazy. What a year.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So I
I
know
mean,
today, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I'm going to California next week, and like I think I paid $1,200 for just comfort tickets, like not even first class. So it's so much money.
It is. It is. But today we're going to talk about your journey, how you got here, all the success that you found. So, Zach, do me a favor, please. Introduce yourself to my audience a little bit about who you are and the traveling, of course, and where they can find you.
Sure. So I'm Zach Randles-Freidman, and I have two podcasts. One is called Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay. It's an all podcast platforms. You can go to everythingandanythingpodcast.com. And I've been doing that for about 2.5 years, that podcast, or yeah, 2.5 years. And I interview people that can be anyone from a psychic medium to a person that had a near death experience to a real housewife. I recently interviewed David Archuleta. I do some other celebrities, and I do people that were in cults their entire life and that escaped. And so I kind of just go and find people that I think are interesting and something that I'd want to talk about. And I have a guy that I just talked to who thinks that we're all in a simulation theory, like we're all in a sim, and we're not really living in reality. And it was an interesting conversation. And I just like bring people on. I have a woman that came on who, at the age of 66, decided she transitioned to a woman at the age of 66. So just telling people's stories that are inspiring. And I try to avoid politics, but it's not always so easy in this country, in the United States where I live, because yeah, I'm sure everybody can relate to that one way or the other. And then I have another podcast called Listen Up Girl, where I do LGBTQ plus news, 10 minutes or less. And I've been doing it about 6 days a week. So just putting it out there.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. How did you get, or why did you get involved in the podcasting space?
So I was working for a company. I was head of communications, US communications for this company. And they said, we should do a podcast. And I said, great, like, let's do it. And let's interview some of our corporate leaders and, other people, maybe it was for a dermatology company, but they had prescription products as well. And so I started doing it, and then I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to hear my voice and I didn't want to see myself on camera. And so I ended up doing it. It went over very well. And then I left that company. And then I'm like, oh, I kind of miss doing the podcast. I got used to my own voice and seeing myself on camera. And my friend's like, you should just do your own podcast. I'm like, what does that even mean? And he's like, and he told me what to do, like go buy this and do this. And so I started doing it, interviewing friends, and I'd go and find a few people that were guests that were I thought were interesting. Then I looked at my numbers one day and I'm like, oh my God, this really grew. Like, how did this happen? And I just kind of kept it going. And then I'm like, oh, I want to do like a news podcast to bring people what's happening in the LGBTQ plus community. And so I did that as well. And then that took off. And then last July, I was so tired of the negative news that I stopped it for like a month and a half. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And then I got emails and some DMs from people like, oh, what happened to the news? Like, we liked it. I'm like, all right, let me start it again. So I started it again, and it's doing well. And now I get about 75 people a week that come to me that want to come on my podcast, and I go through the emails. I try to every week, and I pick 3 a week and interview them, and then I do a couple monologue podcast, whatever I want to talk about, like whatever's on my mind, what's happening in my life, and and then in March, I left my corporate job. So I was in pharmaceutical communications for 25 years. And I was doing my podcast at nighttime and weekends, and I was doing my full time job in the daytime. And it was just too much. So I left to try to take a chance on my podcast, and I'm glad I did. And now I'm expanding the podcast, and it's scary because you don't have all those benefits and a guaranteed paycheck at the end of every 2 weeks. But I'm really glad I did it. And I don't know if things start to go bad, then I can always go back and, start and look for another job if I had to. But I'm hoping I don't have to.
And I'm wishing you all success with this because you're right. It definitely is scary. I think the benefits piece and the security
Yeah.
of working for a company, right? Some people be like, I don't know if I'm good enough to build all of this, but we don't want a life of regrets, right?
Yeah. And I feel like I was just tired of like every morning when I wake up, I was like, oh, I got to do 25 Zoom calls today with people and talk about the same old stuff over and over and over that we've talked about for the last 6 months. And I just kind of was just bored of it. And I just, you know, and I looked forward to doing podcasts and meeting new people in my interviews. And yeah, and I just said, I'm going to try it and see what happens. And as long as I can make, the money, have the money keep coming in and stuff, then I'm going to continue with it. So
Let me ask you a question. What was something that you had to overcome when you decided to leave your corporate job and do this full time?
just that, I mean, like I don't have a 401k anymore, so I need to save my own money on the side. Um, in the United States, we don't have universal health care, so you have to pay for your health care insurance, and that's for me, it's $2,700 a month that you have to pay for health insurance, which is insane. And so just like those type of things. And, I have a good amount of money kind of put away in case anything ever happened to the podcast or whatever. So I feel fine financially. And I'm making good money. I have some sponsorships that I'm working on and stuff. So I think it was just scary, like not knowing like how month to month it would be. Because if my show relies on ads, and if I don't get ads, then I'm not getting paid. Like a million people could listen to it, but I got to have ads in order to make any money. So I think that was the scariest thing. It's just like I don't have a guaranteed paycheck, and I'm my own person. But the benefits to all that is like I sleep in till 10 or 10:30 every day. I get up, I do what if I don't want it. I mean, I have podcasts scheduled, but if I want to block out 2 days in a row, Wednesday and Thursday, I can, and I can do whatever I want because I'm my own boss now, and I can, you know, I can work and like sometimes I work at nighttime. I do my podcast in the day, and I do editing and stuff at night, and um, I can do things on the weekend if I want, or I can take the weekend off. I could actually move wherever I wanted to now because I can do the podcast really anywhere. So if I wanted to move, to a more like I'm in Boston now. If I wanted to move in the middle of nowhere, let's say Maine, for example, I could because I just need internet connection and my computer and camera. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I like it. This is where I feel like I belong right now.
Move to a log cabin in the forest, just
Uh,
yourself,
I don't know.
laptop, and internet.
I don't know if I want to do that, but housing is so expensive in Boston. So I've definitely have looked at like if I want to buy a house outside of Boston, like there's you get so much more money for you the same amount of money you'd pay outside of Boston compared to inside of Boston, you get so much more outside of Boston. So move, I don't know, an hour outside of Boston, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Right now I'm just sticking to where I'm at and not making any major changes like that yet.
I remember when I was changing jobs, one of the things that I wanted to ensure was balance. Because to you, right, I was giving so much to the previous job that I had where I was feeling exhausted at like 7 p.m. And I'm like, what am I doing? Am I just giving my life, the hours, the minutes, the days, the weeks, the months, just to someone else's dream? Did you
Mhm.
experience something along those lines where you're working as hard as you were for someone else's definition of success?
Oh, totally. Like I felt like everything I was doing. And then what really got me is like I would come up. So I ran a digital communications team and all of the things that I did, like for the 2 years, like a complete rebrand of the company, launching brand new websites for, 25 countries, redoing all their social media. Like when I came in, there was nothing about it. I built all this and I'm like, this is so much. And now I'm leaving and did all this and I could have been doing this for myself. So I've also been teaching myself how to do AI things as well. Cause I think like I need like a backup plan in case this doesn't work and I just want to have maybe side money, do a consulting. But I've basically taught myself how to build apps using Claude. So and I've done that. Now I just kind of see who wants them. But it was actually kind of fun. So I gave all my time and energy helping somebody else make money, and now I'm going to try to make money for myself.
What's something that you learned about yourself that maybe you're surprised that you're able to do that?
I never felt like I was an entrepreneur. I never thought I would like just leave a corporate job. I am shocked that I have not already started looking for another job. And I actually got offered a job earlier this week from a company. They reached out to me, they interviewed me, they wanted me to come work for them, and I turned the job down because I'm just not ready to go back to a corporate job. And I don't know if I ever will be. And then the weird thing is that so many of my friends that are my age are doing the same thing where they're leaving their jobs, starting at their own companies, starting something else, like just doing something completely different. Because I think everybody's so tired of the corporate jobs and like sitting there doing the same thing. It's supposed to be 9 to 5, but sometimes it can be 7 to 10. And you're on these Zoom calls all day long with people across the world. At least my job was, and you feel like you never get anything accomplished. You got all these approvals that you got to get through, and it just wasn't exciting anymore. And I think because I've been doing the same thing for 25 years, and I have all these ideas of things I wanted to do, and the companies I work for can be were conservative and didn't want to push the envelope too far. And so I'm really happy that I left. And I think my biggest surprise is that I took that jump. I didn't go out and try to find another job already, and I don't want one. And I like the freedom.
What advice would you give to someone who is at the crossroads that maybe you and I have experienced, and they want to do something that is more passion based and less corporate, but they're having difficulties understanding the journey that it takes to get there?
I mean, I would not have left a corporate job to do this unless I knew I had the money there that I was making because the podcast was my passion project in a way. So I had to make sure that I was totally secure, making as much, if not more money on my podcast than I was at my corporate job. And so because that did happen, I felt comfortable. But I didn't want to have to like suffer when like, oh, I can't go on trips, I can't go on vacations. Or I didn't want to get to the point where it's like, oh no, I can't pay for rent this month or I can't buy food. Like I never wanted to be there. So I think just making sure you're financially ready to take that jump. And if you are, like, you just have to do it because the job economy isn't so great right now. And and so if you can't do the jump right now, then don't. Like just wait, stick it out. But whenever there's a ton of jobs out there, because the job market will return, at least in the United States, it's not so great right now. But once the job market comes back and in its job applicants market where they can get all these jobs that are out there, because we do go through waves of jobs, availability. I think that's whenever if you want to do something like and you have enough money, you have a little bit of money saved, and you also are bringing in money with your passion project, then just do it. In worst case scenario, you go back and you get a job again.
I think that's probably one of the biggest, scariest step is to truly believe that you will be okay,
Yeah.
right? I know some people, and I'm from that world where you've been doing this type of job for so long, it
Mhm.
becomes a part of your identity.
Yeah.
I am corporate terrain. You
Yeah.
were corporate Zach, right? When it comes to breaking free of that identity, was there a little bit of a struggle for you, or how was that experience?
Yeah, so there was, and I'll tell you what there was because whenever I was on my podcast, and I was working a corporate job, I would definitely watch what I said because people at work knew I had a podcast, and I didn't ever want anybody to go in and say, "Oh, you were talking about this and this," and I would never talk about my job. I never talked about where I worked. I would kind of reference maybe what I did, but I never talk about where I worked or anything. And now that I don't have a corporate job, I can really freely talk about like whatever I want. I mean, there's limits to that, of course, but I have had people that are in open relationships and have come on and really talked about what an open relationship is and probably more detail than I even wanted to hear, but they did it and I released it because it's my show and if I want to do it, I can. And that's basically I think that freedom that not working in a corporate job that I now have. Like I can talk about what I want. I don't bring up my old companies ever. And yeah, I mean, again, I still watch what I say because I don't, if I ever have to go back to a real job, I don't want someone to pull up an old episode and say, well, you were talking about this. And that was like, that's not part of what we are as a company. And so, but I do feel more of a freedom to say what I want.
It's interesting because that does happen, right? Like you see like 10 years ago this tweet and this
Yes.
person it comes up and I think sometimes people forget that what we say is in the context of the time, place
Yes.
and the people around, right?
Exactly.
And you can't pull up something 10, 15 years ago and say that it's a gotcha moment, but people do try to do that to your defense.
Yeah, people do that. But I mean, there's some things where, I don't know. I feel like I had a sex therapist on my show and she really wanted to get into talking about sex things and which I'm fine with, but I was thinking in the back of my head, well, what if I have to get a job in 5 years from now and they like listen to this podcast? They're gonna be like, is Zach like what's he into? Because and I wasn't talking about myself at all. She was talking about people that she helps with sexual challenges. And so yeah, I mean I still have a little bit of a guard up, a little bit of a wall up whenever people are talking, but it's definitely come way down where I feel more open where I can say what I want.
Do you think you're more of who you are now than you were previously?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yes. And I call people out now sometimes. I mean, I try to ignore the things that come out on social media when people write these DMs or write comments on my post. I was holding back and now I really just kind of like if somebody says something negative and there are these trolls that are out there, I kind of just go after them. But I've been told ignore the comments. So now I'm at the camp where I'm pretending they don't even exist. I don't even look at the comments anymore. But there's some crazy people out there also.
Oh yeah, like what do they call them? Keyboard warriors? Like
Yes, exactly.
it's someone I forget who said this, and it's not my idea, but I loved it. Is that if you started to charge people for every negative comment, how many of them would actually post it?
None of them would.
None of them would, right? Because
Yeah.
there's a consequence to the action. Because being positive is so much more better. But you're right. There's some people out there they probably it's on their feed, right? Every single video, it's like a what's it called? It's like a game to them. where they
Yeah.
just say, okay, I'm going to post and I'm going to say something negative about every single video that pops up on my algorithm, not knowing they're feeding into the algorithm and getting upset even more.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll post something and somebody will come in, oh, that person's so gay. And I'm like, well, how did my post get into your algorithm? So you must be a little gay yourself. So you're following gay stuff. So come out of the closet. That's, but I'm really trying to ignore them and not give them any, because when you do respond to them, that's what they want. You're just giving them oxygen kind of to keep breathing this negativity. And so I'm trying to stay with it. I just don't allow people to. So if I have a transgender person, I don't allow them to say anything about a transgender person, and I don't allow anybody to say anything racist in my comments. If they do, I block them or come back. Other than that, if people want to say, whatever, they can. I mean, but I don't allow people to like kind of talk about those two topics.
I'm the same way. If someone's going to try to tear down someone based on their sexuality, their gender, the color of their skin, or whatever the case
Yeah,
is, I will just remove them. Because I don't have me personally, I don't have a place for that. I know some people they like that because again, it's engagement, but I'm the type of person that I've built too many connections
yeah,
within the gay community and outside of it to even tolerate anything like that.
yeah. And the other interesting thing is that now I have when somebody posts something negative, that other people that are following me will end up going and attacking that person. So I don't even have to do it anymore. So they're kind of like going in and saying, who are you, you little troll? Like you have 3 followers and like, they'll kind of like, you posted 2 things in the last year. So why are you even on social media? Like, obviously you have no friend. Like they'll go back and go after him or her. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's the pictureless
Yeah,
account.
exactly. Exactly. And it's probably some, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have all these theories in my head about who these people really are, but yeah, I don't know. I had a I had a guy that came on my show who I wanted to interview. He was a gay MAGA Republican, and I wanted to hear his take on how you could be gay and support Donald Trump, who hates gay the LGBTQ plus people. And he came on and he was just talking about um, he thinks being gay is wrong, and his God says that he shouldn't be gay. And I'm like, okay, but you are gay. And he goes, yeah, but I don't act on it. And I said, and he goes, and I think transgender people are horrible and they're an abomination and all this. I'm like, that episode did not air. So, because I'm just like, you hate yourself and you hate the community that you could be a part of. So like, it was just too negative. So I just kind of, and he still texts me and sends me email. Somehow he got my phone number also, which is scary. And then he started texting me things and he emailed me like, where's my episode? Can I redo it? And I'm like, I'm just ignoring him at this point.
I had a conversation with someone about that where we were friends for a number of years and we're not friends anymore. And I asked them, I was like, what is and I and I framed it this way because I wanted to get a specific reaction. I was like, what is your interest in homosexuality, or why do you think it's wrong, things of that nature? And he shared his reason. And I said, okay, if it's something that you're not into, then why do you give it so much energy? Why don't
Hmm.
you just carry on with your life, however it is you want to carry on, and don't concern yourself with what is going on, maybe over here? And then he shared that, well, I don't think it's right, so I need to raise awareness. I was like, raise awareness in your own life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, shouldn't you come from a place of happiness? Because if you don't, it's hard for me to believe when someone says they don't care about something, they spend so much time caring about it.
But usually the most homophobic people are the ones that are in the closet. That's,
I've heard that. Is that
oh,
like a myth, or is it true, or is it?
I think it's true because if you're focusing that much on being homophobic, I really think that you're thinking about it so much. And I really do believe that if you're that homophobic and you're completely going after these people, you are you're probably in the closet and you're not living your authentic life. You're probably married to a woman and you have kids and you probably hate them all and you wish that you were with a man. So that's what I think. And that's what a lot of my friends think. And it's funny, like the people that you see at these like pride rallies that are are protesting and all this stuff. A lot of times you can really you look at them and I'm like, oh no, he's in the closet. Like, look at him. I know that. I know that move that he just did. Like he's in the closet. He'll come out one day. It could be when he's in his 60s or something, but he'll come out one day. Or not. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll spend his whole life not being his authentic self, which is sad.
Yeah, I found it to always be sad where some of these people are coming from a place of, because to your point, they may not like something about themselves, so if they see it in other people, they want to attack it because they're not going to attack themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't agree with things that people do, but the way I see it, if it's not hurting me, then it's not hurting anybody. If it's not hurting anybody, then leave it alone. So, like, I just don't think anybody should be impacted by something that you do. And if it's not, then whatever. If somebody wants to be in an open relationship and have 14 partners in their life, great. If it's not hurting and everybody's consenting about it, then do it. Go for it. So I just I don't know. I just don't understand why people care what's happening in other people's lives so much.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that all out, right? And I've
Yeah.
only come up with two answers, but that's a conversation for, I guess, for another day.
Yeah.
But regarding the gay community, how important is it for you to be a voice for them through your podcast and through other things as well?
So it's funny. I never thought I'd be a voice for the gay community, for the LGBTQ plus community ever. And I'll tell you one thing that this podcast has changed my mind about. A couple of things. One is I didn't have anything against transgender people at all. I just didn't really like understand it. And um, after doing this podcast and interviewing so many amazing transgender people, I understand. I understand now. I understand where they are, and I'm their biggest supporter now. I I do not understand why people care. I don't understand why there's over 700 bills that are in the not across the United States where they're trying to take away rights, and they can't they don't want them using bathrooms or taking away their driver's license and stuff. I don't understand any of it, and I am such a transgender ally now, and that's what this show has one of the things that's taught me. But just overall, like I see, I've interviewed lesbians where they're like, gay men don't usually like lesbians. I'm like, really? And so I try to uncover like why is that happening? There's also different cities in the United States. So like the gays in Boston are not nice. They are so unfriendly. And when I talk to other people in the LGBTQ plus community, they're like, yeah, gays here are they're so into themselves. And Washington, D.C. gays are the same thing. But whenever I lived in New York, the gays in New York are so amazing and they're so friendly. When we go to Montreal, the gays there are so friendly. Like LA, they're okay, but every city has a different vibe with gay people, and I like kind of calling people out whenever they're. I've called out the gay men in this city off many times because on my podcast, and I've talked to other people that live in Boston about it. But it's kind of fun being there's no other right now. I don't know if there's any other LGBTQ plus podcast that's interviewing people. There's a lot of LGBTQ plus podcasts that are out there, but they're not doing interviews with people. They're doing monologues, or they're maybe bringing on a special guest once in a while, but they're not totally focused on those topics. So I don't know. I like it.
Why do you think the experiences are so different based on your perspective?
Experiences meaning like from being an LGBTQ person or not, or are you
Yeah,
talking?
yeah.
I mean, I think that, LGBTQ plus people and just marginalized communities have to go through a lot more stuff and prove themselves of who they are, and they're not always accepted. And, they there can be employee issues. There could be, if you come out to some parents, they're kicking you out of their house and not talking to you, or family will abandon you and stuff. And I think that's not just LGBTQ plus people. I think it's like all these marginalized communities that go through these similar things. So, um, I like bringing that up to make people realize how silly it is, like how dumb it is that you don't like somebody. And also, I want people to understand, like nobody chooses to be gay or transgender. It's just like it's how you were born, and I want people to understand that. And I think the message is getting across to some people, and some people are never going to get it or don't care to get it. And that's okay too. But they're still listening to my show somehow.
I'm 40 years old, and I'm looking at, let's say, from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s, 2010s. Now we're in the 2020s, and it amazes me that there's some people, seems to be a growing number these days, really, but there's some people who, instead of coming from a place of care,
Yeah.
compassion, or love, they're coming from a place where, okay, this bothers me, that bothers me. And I understand like different personality types and everything, but I just look at life and just say it would be so much easier for every single person if you just be yourself, pursue happiness, and then try not to infringe
Yeah.
on other people's peace and happiness. As long as it's legal, yes. And I think that's maybe to your point with the bills. Maybe that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to make it legal so it develops in someone's psyche saying that, okay, this is wrong
Hmm.
because the law says it's wrong. But we shouldn't be going backwards. We should be going forwards in life.
Well, here's the thing about all these anti-trans laws that they're doing in the United States. Transgender people are less than 1% of the population, and they're putting so much effort, like taxpayer money, time in Congress and the Senate, time from the president himself and his office and administration to cover less than 1% of the population because they don't want them using the bathroom that their sex currently is. It's like you've start. I mean, I don't want to get political, which I'm going to end up going there if I keep going, but there's wars happening now in Iran. You've invaded Venezuela. You completely destroy the White House with your reconstruction. You've done all these things, but yet you're worried about less than 1% of the population that has never ever like been part of these child pedophile. There's no transgender people in the Epstein files. So there's no none of so let's talk about who's in the Epstein file. And we're doing all these wars and stuff to avoid the Epstein files, but it's going to come out eventually. So yeah, I could go on and on about this for a few days, but I'll hold myself back.
I think sometimes with the overall theme is it's a distraction, right? Like even if you look
Always.
at what our lives were going through, we were living a certain life because we are distracting for something that maybe deep down we knew
Mhm.
was where we needed to be. And to your point, we look around the world and we want food, shelter, and a means to provide for ourselves. Those are basically, you give that to the majority of people will be fine.
Yeah.
I just think there's things in place either directly that we do, you and I,
Yeah.
on an individual level, or as a society, as a collective that we put that this distracts us from achieving our happiness. It could be the long hours at work, it could be the wrong partner, it could
Mhm.
be a dysfunctional family, it could be a number of things. But for you, Zach, as you're going forward in life, what are some of the ways that you're ensuring that you stay the course of peace, happiness, and contentment?
I mean, I think with my podcast, I'm really able to bring that because I try to have all my stories be inspiring. The guests that come on are they always end with usually with a really good message. And I'll give you an example. I had this one woman, it was early in my podcast. She came on and she was married to her husband for 17 years. He went on a business trip to London, came home and said, I got to tell you something. And she says, what? He says, I cheated on you when I was in London. And she's like, oh, what? What was her name? She goes, well, it was a man. And she's like, oh my God, really? And so it wasn't only now that she's competing with women when he's traveling, it's men too. She tried to forgive it, was going to change, was going to open her relationship up if he wanted to do it. She was going to do whatever he wanted her to do so he could stay married because they had two children. Then a couple months later, he comes to us, I got to tell you something. And she's like, what? He's like, I've cheated on you for the last 10 years with hundreds of men and women. And she's like, she had to go get tested for HIV and all the other STDs and STIs and stuff. And she went and got tested. Luckily, she was fine. And then she's like, I'm done. I'm done with you. And she moved on. Now she's got a successful marketing business. She has her own podcast. And he is living in a studio apartment with some guy he met. Uh, He was the breadwinner and all this, and now he's doing drugs and all this other stuff. And she has this whole amazing life. She has a transgender daughter. She's a huge ally, the LGBTQ plus community. And her story is so inspiring because she took like all this crap that was thrown at her years before and made a business, made a podcast. And I love, love, love her story because she's uplifting and she's just really kind of just she's an inspiration to people, and I love telling those type of stories. And I try to have more of those stories on. Again, I avoid politics as much as possible, but people come on and talk about it, how they're being impacted by what's happening in the United States, and they don't feel safe being in the United States, so people are moving. I just talked to somebody last week and did an interview. Her and her partner are moving to the Netherlands because they don't feel safe here anymore in the United States, and they wanted to go to Canada. Everybody wants to go to Canada now, so get ready because we all want to move there.
Well, we'll welcome you with open arms. Trust me, I'll be on the front line saying, "Come on over."
Yeah, I mean, Canada is like everybody loves Canadians and loves Canada, so
I think it's tough given the relationship that has happened over the last year and a half. Has it been that long? Wow, year and a half.
yes, yep,
But I'm glad that stories like that, where someone had a difficult situation, especially a marriage where you have the breakdown, and she turned it around.
yep.
And I think what some people don't realize is that when you do harm to other people or when you take advantage of other people, eventually it's going to come back to you. And that story about the woman who turned it all around after hearing that, that is a sign of that's tremendous courage.
Oh, yeah, and she had to leave her house. She bought a brand new house. She has probably a much better life than she was having with her husband, who was couldn't be faithful and was in the closet or what who even knows what he was because he was sleeping with men and women. So he's bisexual, I guess. But he's living with a man now. He's doing drugs. I mean, she's just like, it's sad, but it's not her problem anymore. And she's got a very happy and healthy life now. So that's with her kids. Their kids love her.
Zach, let me ask you one final question before I let you go today, but I want to give you three wishes for this question.
Okay.
What are three things you wish people knew about the importance of celebrating ourselves and why?
I think the first wish is that I think people should be really, they should wish they should be happy and wish that they could be authentic, be their authentic selves in their lives and not have to be fake at all. So whenever you start a new job or you make new friends, you can be your authentic self. I wish everybody could be their authentic selves all the time, no matter what situation they're in. Um, I also wish that everybody could do what makes them happy day to day and not have to be, if you don't want to be stuck in a corporate job or you do want a corporate job, I wish everybody could have exactly what they want to do every day. And I think my last wish is that I wish everybody could find like authentic true love and find somebody that makes them happy and that they are giving and getting both love and giving love and they have somebody that's super kind to them and they're kind back. That's my three wishes.